Okay, thanks, Corey. Welcome, everybody. So we are going to kick things off this morning. This is Mindful Matters, and I'm going to explain a little bit about what that means. But before we do, I'm just going to share a little bit. Let's see. Let me find my little clicker. Thanks for being with me. And I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for taking some time for yourself this morning. This is a really important time for you to be in a place where you just receive. A word picture would be like Christmas morning. You know, when you know that you have gifts under the tree and they are straight up for you. And you don't even know what's in them, but you're in that mind, that frame of mind. Maybe you didn't have a great connection with that. Maybe a birthday is a better word picture for you. But I want you to be thinking about being in that frame of mind today, this whole time. It's really a small investment for you. And as I get into a little bit of guidelines and expectations for today, that's important for peace of mind. So you're like, what am I doing here? What can I expect? I'm going to fill you in all the way along the journey. So if you have a question, feel free. I give you permission to interrupt me at any time. You can kind of wave your hand. So safety is a priority in these times. So we're not here to fix or rescue anybody. I'm not here to point any faults out, anything like that. This is a time of healing. And the most change that's going to happen in each one of us, including myself, is not going to be visible. It's going to be something inside you. If something stirs inside of you, this is very important. And it's okay if something stirs. That is the point. Okay, so a lot of what we're going to do here is going to be internal. You're going to see some healing happening inside your mind, your thought processes. My prayer is for revelation. Maybe I'm going to say something that you've heard before 10 times, but the way I'm going to present it today is going to really take root inside who you are, so you can begin to live in that. Okay, so safety first, no fixing or rescuing anybody else, okay? If that's your tendency, just remember it's about you today. It is about you. You are here only for yourself. Whether you volunteered to help me out, this I really believe is still for you to receive, okay? So participation is optional, but it will be encouraged throughout this event. But when we share from our own thoughts and feelings. Okay, so it's not you, it's I feel this. I heard this. This resonated with me. Does that make sense? So all the sharing will come from your own thoughts and feelings, so own it. That is, again, part of safety, so that everybody feels safe and they're not being told what to do. It's a little thing, but we all have an inner child. I don't know about you, but my inner child's a little rebel. Don't tell me what to do. All right? But sometimes I need encouragement. And I accept encouragement a lot better than telling me what to do. Anybody with me? Okay. All right, cool. You're my people. Oh, last but not least, let's have some fun. Okay? Let's have some fun. This is time to have some fun, some refreshment. Bathrooms are down the hall if you need them. Coffee's out, well, it's behind me. There's snacky goodness. There's some fresh fruit. There is water and things, so please help yourself. We are going to take a couple breaks. So really quick, I kind of already did welcome some goals and expectations. The workshop guidelines we just went through. Grace Revealed, as Corey said, was birthed out of, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but we're going to have 3 sessions. So the first one is, as it was advertised, practicing mindfulness. So I'm going to talk about what that is. A lot of it is going to be tools, so tools that you can implement today, especially if you're feeling fatigue, if you are feeling lethargic, if you feel like you have nothing left to give yourself, another person, a plant, a pet, a spouse, right? A partner. If you are feeling depleted of resources, I'm going to give you tools that you can literally use. Some of them we're going to be able to use in this room today. Some of them you can take right on out of here and use them today. You can use them throughout. But the point of refreshment is something that's practical, something that you can do, something that you feel willing to do, something that you're willing to try, maybe that you've never tried before. And I'm only going to share from my own experience. I'm going to share some revelations I've had. I don't know how to say this without just completely being myself. Are you guys cool with me being myself? Everybody? We cool? Okay. Because I want you to be yourselves too. So I research the crap out of self-care. Okay? I follow people. I read. I live and breathe this stuff every day, every week. Not to sound weird, but eventually, as Corey said, I do want to be known as an expert because I almost damaged my body, my organs, to a point where I couldn't recover. And thank God I am still here. So part of what we're going to do is we're going to talk about practicing mindfulness. During overcoming burnout, I'm going to share my story with you. I have some pictures and I have some memories to share with you about what happened and why I'm here and why I'm so stinking passionate about self-care. And then finally, our third session, we're going to talk about the value of self-care. Okay, so before I jump in, you should have received a bag. If you didn't, feel free to go out to the front. The gals can give you a bag at the front table. But there are notebooks in there, and I'm so glad, Will, that you have yours out and ready. So the reason we do this, and I have if you're more of a colorful card situation, Lisa has some bags for you if you need one. So they are for you to have some takeaways. Like Corey said, he took a boatload of notes, and I'm grateful that he still has them. Thanks. So this is for you to capture things that stick out to you. Some people are more visual learners, right? And you might not need to write a single thing down. And I bless you for it. So we got plenty of pens. There should be a pen in the bag, but there's pens here. You can feel free to move around. It's not going to hurt if your blood keeps flowing. Like I said, we're going to take a couple breaks, or we'll take a break in between each session. But those are there for you. When we were setting up yesterday, I shared with someone how I researched high and wide for these notebooks so that they have an opportunity for you to be present. There's a space for the day of the week. You can circle, you can fill in, you can put the date on there. Today is the 24th of July, 2021. Okay, so these are for you. And it really is for your own takeaways. Like I said, change is a process. And really, ultimately, my hopes and my dreams and my goal is for change to happen inside of you today. If that manifests with laughter or joy or maybe even tears, maybe there's some letting go, that'll happen. So the tagline for Grace Revealed is a safe place to let go and heal. Is there any other recovering control freaks out there? Anybody? Okay. I think of myself as a retired control freak, but occasionally she rears her ugly head. Okay, because there's lots of things I can't control, thank God. I'm reminded of that every time I'm in an airplane and see how small people look. I'm like, ooh, I'm tiny. But the reason why Grace Revealed is a safe place to let go and heal is some of the things we talked about already. That it's meant to be a safe place where you're not fixed or rescued, but where some answers and some solutions come to you that you can take away that will literally give you hope, healing, and change your mind, your heart, your body, and your relationships as you put yourself first. Okay? Any questions or comments before we jump in? Okay, you're welcome to share. All right, so we're going to talk about practicing mindfulness first. Okie dokie. I just have to change my sheets over here. So one thing to know about me is that I really have a premium on being present, okay? By that I mean staying in the moment. And I'm gonna share a little bit more about that as we get into things. But so practicing mindfulness, why is it so important? Anybody have an idea? Anything come to you? Why is it so important? Mindfulness. So maybe it'll help if I give a definition. So mindfulness, an example is washing something where you can feel the water going over your fingers. And you can tell whether it's warm, lukewarm. You can tell if it's cold, if it's ice cold. Like you're really present with that water. You feel all the feels, okay? So being mindful is very important to suck the marrow out of life, to enjoy the present moments, okay? Some of this I'm gonna have on the screen is for you if you're a note taker, if you like to write things down. And some of it is just to keep me on track so I do what I told you I was gonna do. And some of it is really key things that are gonna show up on the screen here today. I think we have maybe 15 slides to get through. It's not a whole lot. Where was I going with that? Sorry, my brain does funny things sometimes. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, what happens if we leave the moment? Comical. What happens if we leave the moment? Has anybody ever seen someone who's in the room but not in the room? The lights are on, but nobody's home. Okay. Where are they? Where are they? We don't know. They could be going crazy. They could be worrying about tomorrow. They could be beating themselves up for what they wore. They could be, we just don't know. Thankfully, I've never met someone that can read minds. Grateful, right? I don't want to know what's going on. I have enough going on in my own mind, right? But it is important to recognize what happens if we leave the moment. We will miss what's going on right around us. We could miss what's going on with our own self. You ever been in a daze and you like trip over something you totally should have seen and your toe hurts because you ran into it? It's like, it brings you right back to the moment, right? And you don't even remember what you were thinking about 10 seconds ago because your foot hurts, right? So that's a simple example of what happens if we leave the moment is we can lose our bearings. We don't really know what's going on in our surroundings. So what does it look like to practice mindfulness? All right, so this is the fun part. This is an exercise that we can all do together, just a breathing exercise, just to kind of start things off, all right? So I'm gonna ask you to kind of follow my direction again. Participation is encouraged, but it's not required. So if you don't want to, you don't have to. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something called box breathing. And we're gonna breathe in really deeply. And I do this two ways. I will breathe in really deeply through my nose and try to send all the air to my brain. And sometimes I will breathe in really deeply and send all the air to my belly, okay? And there's strategic reasons for both, but you pick whatever's comfortable for you. So we're gonna breathe in really deeply, and you can either hold it in your brain, send the air to your brain or your belly. We're gonna hold it for 4 counts, then we're gonna push it out through our mouth, and then we're gonna hold it out for 4 counts. Okay, so I want you to breathe in as much air as you can, send it to your brain or your belly, then we're gonna hold it in for 4 counts. I'll just kind of count it out with my fingers, and then we're gonna push out every ounce of air that we possibly can. And this is a grounding mechanism, but it's also really good for your body, your brain, your organs, whatever. Everybody ready? Okay, so On the count of 3, we're going to breathe in as deep as you can, send it to your brain or your belly. We're going to do it twice. The first one I'm going to send to my brain. The second one I'm going to send to my belly. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Push it out. Hold it out. That's the hard part. Okay, breathe normal. Whew. Okay, the next thing is we're going to do one more round. I want you to be thinking about anything taxing your mind right now. If you have any anxiety, if anything's like trying to like nip at you and take you out of this room right now. As we breathe in, I want you to just think about something that you're going to let go as we push the air out, okay? So I want you to think about it. It's a good reminder, I forgot to mention, but I'm going to kind of tie it into another session. But if we can take a minute to silence our cell phones, that would be helpful. So if y'all want to just find your phone real quick. Okay. So what we're going to do is on the count of 3, we're going to breathe in deeply. I'm going to send it to my belly this time because it helps the organs and all the systems. All right, I'm going to try to get as much oxygen in my belly as I can. We're going to hold it for the 4 counts. Then I'm going to push it out through my mouth, just as much as I can get out of me, and then hold it out for 4 counts, and then we're going to breathe naturally again. Everybody on board? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, we can breathe naturally. Did anybody try the 2 different ways? Did they feel any different? To anybody? How did it feel?
More feeling in my head.
Okay. Did you like that one better?
Yeah.
They're different. They're different. Yeah. To me, it was more painful for me to put it in my belly. My organ, I could feel a little stress in there, and I'm like, settle down. We're okay. Okay. It's part of being mindful of ourselves. Okay. And it's also it's a tactic used by special forces when they're under stress and under like wild turmoil. It's a way to bring your senses down. So it calms the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay? I told you guys I research this stuff, right? One day I will be able to kind of take us through where some of these come from, but I try to kind of give credit to where it's due, and a lot of it has to do with my own journey, which never ceases to amaze me how much stuff is out there, how much information is out there, but it pales in comparison as to something that I can actually use that will affect my life. All right, any questions or comments before we keep going? Okay. Reality. This is probably one of the most important things that I have prepared for you today, believe it or not. Reality is not as bad as we think. When I was a child, so I'm one of 9 children. I was a third of 9, so I'm the older portion. And it was really easy for me to check out because things were unsafe for me as a child. There was a lot of abuse. There's physical abuse. There's mental abuse, spiritual abuse. It was not a pretty picture. It wasn't fun to go home as a child. And I very often ran away. I would run into the fields. I would come up with this dramatic fantasy life. I had boyfriends that were trees, okay, that were like coming home from the war to like rescue me, okay? It was really easy for me to want to go somewhere else in my mind. But in my journey, one of the best things that I have found that staying in the moment takes practice. And I shared that in an earlier slide, that it takes practice. If we are so tempted with the stimulus that comes from technology, the stimulations of a flashing light or a sound or a buzz of, hey, somebody's messaging me, hey, hey, hey. Your mind can go all over the place and forget where you are. One of the things that I learned as I grew out of my childhood, as I grew out of my family of origin, is that reality is not that bad. Knowing who your real friends are, it's not that bad. I didn't have to make them up anymore. I have real fresh flesh and blood friends, okay? And it's okay to take note of things that maybe aren't so positive so that we can find a solution to them. Staying in the moment. I heard one of the best examples of anxiety is if our brain has past or future woes. So even if you're worried about, I don't even want to plant any seeds, but something outside of this moment, something in the future, even today, if your brain is trying to go there, bring it back. Bring it back. A good question is, what is going on around me? What is going on around me? What's going on around me right now as I'm at a workshop? We have tables and chairs that are here designed to help us to receive. We have comfortable chairs that You Are Loved provided so that we have a comfortable place to sit so that we're not squirming, we're not on the floor, we're in America, we're currently in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. These are some things I'm giving you as tools if your brain tries to send you somewhere else. Because the temptation is real. Anybody get tempted since you've been here to worry about something that isn't right now? Woo, right? The struggle is real. That's why we're here. Because to remember throughout the rest of our time here, if your brain tries to play tricks on you and tempt you to leave this moment, remember, I'm here for me. I'm showing up for myself. I'm showing up so that I can be well. And just let that go. The other reason this paper is with you is that you can make a column, you can make a bubble, you can make a little page, you can fill in the back of anything that's tempting you to worry about later, and just make a list so it leaves your mind and it gets on the paper. I'll worry about that later. Thank you, brain, for reminding me, right? Okay. So we take note of what's going on around us. It's really okay to say those things out loud. That's an anchoring tool. Some of the reason I share these is so that when you're not so calm, cool, and collected, everybody looks so like calm, cool, and collected on the outside. I don't know what's going on inside all y'all. Sometimes I get an inclination because I have a spidey sense. But these tools are that you can remember, oh, I went to this workshop and I had a tool for this. Say you come across something and something really throws you for a curveball, or the rug gets pulled out from under you, you can say to yourself, I have a tool for this. I have a tool for this traumatic event. I have a tool for caring for this. I have a tool. And that's the reason why I offer a lot of these solutions for the times when the crazy train comes by and tries to tempt you to really leave the moment. Finally, when you come back, I heard a story recently. When you come back, if you have a sobering moment, anybody ever have like a sobering moment where you get news and it's like, oh my gosh, this just happened. I have to face this. Sometimes a loved one passes away, or just something unexpected really like sobers you right up if your mind is somewhere else, okay? To come back and be gentle with yourself without judgment. Don't beat yourself up for, oh my gosh, I just left this moment, now I'm back. It's okay. It's okay to come back to the moment without judgment. Does that make sense? I used to be really critical of myself. I'd be critical of myself for being critical of myself. Okay, does that make sense? Well, you should have done that. Well, that was wrong. Why am I even judging myself? I'm not God. Why am I doing it? Oh, I can't believe you did that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right. I know that's knowing laughter in the room. I appreciate you, my people. Okay, so come back without judgment. Let yourself off the dang hook. You're not perfect. We're not perfect. I have yet to meet any perfect human beings because there aren't any, and that's okay. You know, I heard perfectionism is the highest form of self-abuse. Perfectionism is the highest form of self-abuse. If you are trying to get yourself to be perfect, it's abusing ourselves. I abuse myself with quote-unquote perfectionism to the point where I nearly killed myself. So that's why phrases like progress, not perfection, come about, because perfectionism is the highest form of self-abuse. Last but not least, on reality, staying in reality, enjoying the moment. The reason why our brains are functioned to be able to see faults and see errors is so that we can change. I'll never forget when my mind started healing. When I messed up, I recognized it as an opportunity to change. When someone lovingly or harshly pointed out my faults, I willingly took time to say, oh, wow, there's some truth to that. I screwed up. How can I change so that I never make that mistake again? How can I change? That is why staying in reality is probably going to add value to our lives. Like Corey said, you know, that there's an opportunity for our lives to change. I don't know, I'm not even sure I have words in English to describe to each of you how important and how much value it has added to my life to fight and to practice to stay present like a little child. You ever see kids that are really present? They don't know anything else. They haven't lived long enough to check out. Some of them may, but some children are really simple. The word childlike exists for a reason. Because it adds value to just be with who's right in front of you. I feel like it's such a privilege that I went through all of high school and most of college without a cell phone. What a privilege. What a privilege. And I feel like most of us in this room went through all of high school with basic tools of communication. You wanted to meet somebody, how'd you do it? Somebody fill us in. Can you say it a little louder? You went and talked to them. So how did you know to meet up?
Went and knocked on their door, called them on the phone.
Okay, so you made a plan. You set a time. What'd you do? You showed up. That was it, right? I'm just making sure we're all on the same page, right? So you used words, you communicated, made a plan, and you went and showed up. You got even advanced and said made a phone call. Whoa, that was like advanced right there. That was like, some other people might have had some other communications before that. I had rotary, okay? Yeah, pager, oh my gosh, I had the clear pager. I felt so cool. Oh my gosh, I barely used it. It was such a waste of money. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I felt cool when I had a pager. Yep. And then I heard only drug dealers have pagers. I don't know if that was true. I wasn't a drug dealer and I did have a pager. Okay, so basic communication, right, that kids get to have. They communicate, we made a plan, and then even into our adolescence, right? Hey mom, can I go to so-and-so's friends? We didn't text. We had to go to our parents. We had to ask for permission. For me, I had to earn it somehow. I was like, okay, take the trash out. Okay, mow the lawn. Then you can da-da-da, right? So we had agreements that we made vocally. with each other. We could see each other's body language, right? This is very important because these tools of communication get minimized with text. We lose so much connection, right? We lose so much, but the opportunity is still so much there. I can't tell you, and somebody tell me if this resonates with you, how good it feels to practice that now. You make us plan with somebody on a handshake in person. Hey, you're going to be at that Grace Revealed thing 10 a.m. tomorrow? And then that's it. You don't have to text them a reminder. And they just show up. Doesn't that feel good? Do you know why we do that? Do you remember why we did that? We communicated and made good on our word. Thanks for sharing that. It builds trust. It builds loyalty. It builds an opportunity for us to rely on each other and know if we can trust someone, right? Because we all have that friend that says they're going to do something or be somewhere, and we really have no idea where they are. And they got excuses out the wazoo. And that's okay. You know, they're not there. They're in their own process. But how wonderful it is it to have at least one friend, you know, you can rely on. It's so important. So, so, so important. So, again, if you only hear one thing in this whole thing, reality is not as bad as it seems sometimes when we get tempted to check out. A way to check back in is to just talk with someone. Just talk with someone. And don't be afraid to pick up the phone and actually call someone. Because we are blessed with video chat now. What a wonder. What a wonder. We're blessed with that if we can't get in person. If you know, and then what is going on around me? What's going on in me sometimes might be a good question, a good journal question. Is my brain trying to tempt me to beat myself up for the past or worry about the future? Just come back to now. What can I do now? What can I do now? And then give yourself a little bit of grace. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Come back without judgment. It's okay to put down your weapons of destruction, okay? So, before I get into that, so one thing that I really do believe I should share as we wrap up this portion about coming back without judgment is self-sabotage is a real thing. Okay? Self-sabotage is a real thing. So I've already given you some examples of me beating myself up, right? Being critical of myself for being critical, right? And judging myself. Well, that's wrong. That's right. Why'd you do that? Those voices can come from wherever, but it's a waste of time. I wasted so much time beating myself up. But self-sabotage happens even when we're celebrating things, right? So I self-sabotage with food. I'm a compulsive overeater. And I'm learning to ask for help. I'm learning to meet with people so that I don't compulsively overeat. Things that aren't even that enjoyable, but it's a rote thing in my brain that I learned when I was a little kid. So because I was one of 9 children, 11 people, that's a little less than who's in this room. I grew up with a sea of people, and it was really easy to get lost. It was really easy for people to not know what I was doing or not know who I was. And I have earliest memories, I was probably 3 or 4 or 5. I had my whole body inside a cupboard. You think of your kitchen cabinets, you know, the deeper ones are on the bottom. And it was me and a gallon jar, one of those glass, you guys remember the glass gallon jars? You could make all sorts of things, store all sorts of things. I had a gallon glass jar of chocolate chips. And I will never forget the moment of that high that my brain felt. And since then, I had to have a real nasty divorce with chocolate because we had a really unhealthy relationship for over 30 years. Okay? So we don't even go out anymore. We don't talk to each other. I don't smell them. We just had a breakup because it wasn't doing me any favors to check out, okay? But I started learning to do that at a very young age. I'm a survivor of over 30 years of compulsive overeating. I'm a survivor because that was my comfort. That was my comfort. Anybody ever feel yourself comforting in a way that you know, like, probably not the best idea? Thank you for your honesty, right? Probably not the best idea. My picker's broken, right? I've chose the wrong Mr. So-and-so occasionally. Just not the healthiest comforter, okay? Because I wasn't taking care of myself. So I'm learning how to value myself. But again, one of the loudest things to hear is this last bullet. To come back to the present without judgment. Anybody hear the phrase, you reap what you sow? The apple don't fall far from the tree kind of thing? Yeah, but what's really great about that, sometimes I've heard that saying is so negative. You reap what you sow. Yeah, no kidding. What if I'm sowing into good things? I'm reaping what I'm sowing. Okay? I want to encourage you with that. So if you realize you're reaping something you sowed that ain't so good for you, try sowing into something better. Try sowing into something better and watch the fruit come about. It's a promise. We do reap what we sow. Sometimes there's an act of God that hijacks that. And thankfully, we don't reap what we sow sometimes. There is a miracle of God where somebody steps in and says, you're really going to get hurt. That thing you're doing could really hurt you. And we get to have an off-ramp on that highway we were going down. Thank God. Sometimes we have a miracle where we get to get off the road where we're going, where we're heading, that is self-destructive. And we can go down the road of healing instead. So I encourage you, if your brain tempts you towards self-destruction, maybe today's the day where your brain is saying, you know what? Maybe I can go down the valley of self-worth, the road of self-worth. I didn't know that I was valuable. Are you kidding me? In a sea of 9 kids? How would I know my worth? My dad was king of checking out. He was there, but he wasn't there. And when he was there, I was a little target. So was my behind for his anger, okay? I didn't want connection with him. I didn't feel safe with him. How was I going to know how valuable I am? Where's that going to come from? Now we're all grown. We have tools, and I'm going to share more about that as we get into the third session, about knowing our self-value and our self-worth. I don't need to tell you anything you don't know about self-sabotage, right? We all know how to do it, right? You stay up too late, you eat too much, you watch too much, you drink too much. Like, we all know how to destroy ourselves. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about healing. I'm here to talk about the way out and some better choices, some better avenues for that. Okay, next, I'm going to share just this tool, and then we're going to wrap up this first session. Okay, so this is a tool for success for if you are feeling troubled. Anybody ever see a car accident or be in a car accident that is shocking, and your system goes into, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? I don't want to plant seeds of negativity, so I'm careful what I say, but this specific tool, 54321, this is a specific tool to help bring you back to the moment. The reason I'm doing this is, like I said before, to give you something in your back pocket. Again, this is something like I promised. These are things we can do right now. And can I have a volunteer who's willing to do this exercise with me? Anybody? Naomi. Okay. Name 5 things that you can see.
The exit sign, the lights, your fancy shirt you got on, a couple smiles, and the hearts on
Ooh, okay, thanks. Can I have another volunteer to say 4 things that you feel? 4 things that you can feel? Chanel.
A notepad, a pen, skin.
One more. Okay, awesome. Okay, somebody else. 3 things that you can hear. This is going to be interesting. Who's willing? 3 things you can hear. Will.
I can hear the buzz of, maybe that's the AC or something. Let's see what else. Oh, I just heard the wrapper in my pocket. And then just heard me make that funny little noise in my mouth.
Awesome. Thanks. Who's willing to do 2 things you can smell? You might have to work a little harder at this one.
Coffee and breath.
Might be the same. Well, a little bit of a mix. Okay, thank you. 1 thing you can taste. Anybody?
Coffee.
Coffee? Yeah. I have to be really careful to not become an obsessive gum chewer now that I'm trying to get my compulsive overeating under control. Got to be careful because all that stuff goes in my tummy. Anyway, okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This again is something worth practicing so that you remember. What's wonderful about this, I helped out with a kids' VBS last night, and I was working with kids from age 6 to 11 maybe, and I just love some of them, those other little devils. Oh my goodness. But by practicing some of the stuff, it's in me, so it's easy to help some of them that were troubled, right? I had a couple boo-boos. You know, I am certified in first aid and CPR for children. So, you know, my brain goes into like little medic / mom mode. I don't have any children of my own, but I'm a nurturer by nature. So things like this, the reason why we repeat them and we do it together, so you have a visceral connection with practicing the tool. Otherwise, this stuff's easy to forget, is it not? Do you remember what we did? I remember Naomi did 5 things she could see. You did 4 things you could feel, right? 3 things that you could hear. 2 things that we could taste. That was the tricky one. And then 1 thing that we could, or no, 2 things we could smell, right? And then 1 thing that we can taste. I'm repeating this on purpose. Are you guys on to me? You get it? Trying to get it in you. Because this is a really super important. I can't tell you how many people I have talked to. I have gotten 911 phone calls of I am not okay, and crying and screaming, and we went back to this tool because it brought us back into reality, seeing and noticing what is in front of us, what we can feel, what we can smell, what we can hear, what we can taste. It brings us back to reality, because that is where we get to enjoy life. That's where we get to come up with solutions to any problem, any pain that we're feeling is only in the moment. It's so valuable. All right, any questions or comments? Harry.
Yeah, I have one. I was always taught if you want to learn something, the more senses you use, the more you will learn.
Ooh.
So if you're just reading something, only 1 sense. If you read it out loud, you got 2 senses. And if you read it, hear it, by reading out loud, you hear it. By using 3 senses, you're going to memorize it better.
Yes. So Harry, if you didn't hear that, Harry had said he learned that you learn better by using more senses, more of our senses, reading, hearing, saying it out loud, actually practicing it. It really helps get it in you. All right. Yeah, Joyce.
Note-taking is so important. You know, I've done a lot of note-taking in my life. They used to call me the queen of note-taking. But I know for a fact that once you walk out the door, you're going to forget what you heard. So if it's important to you, you really need to read it, write it here, say it, think it all the time to
I'm a big believer, and you learn more on what is caught than what is taught. You learn more by what is caught than what is taught. That's why it's so important. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Ari, for sharing that. That you may learn more from someone just sharing and their gut reaction to something. Maybe that could be the sole reason you're here today. That your sharing actually does matter. It really affects things, and it can only help improve what we're doing here today. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Okay, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break, stretch your legs, get something to drink, use the bathroom. We're going to come back, and I'm going to tell you guys my story. I brought visuals, okay? It's going to be a little bit of show and tell. I might need some help for people to like hold up the pictures. But stretch your legs, come on back at 11 o'clock, okay? So we're going to do a quick break, move around, do some jumping jacks, grab some fruit, grab some yummy goodness over there. I heard the muffins are pretty good. There's coffee, there's water. Help yourselves, and I'll see you back at 11.
My anxiety was on overdrive because I knew you didn't have water and I wanted to get up. But I don't